Good morning and welcome to Ireland AM. It's Sunday, July 31st. It's 9 a.m. and you still have 2 days of your bank holiday weekend ahead of you.
Coming up this morning, we take a look at the stories making the Sunday papers, including the latest on the country's challenges facing housing Ukrainian refugees.
And in sport, we look ahead to a bumper day of finals with the Ladies All-Ireland Championships and the Euros coming to a head.
Plus, the new study has found that 1 in 4 children is deficit in vitamin D. We have advice on adding that bit more sunshine vitamin into our kids.
We meet the 11-year-old who caught the attention of the Taoiseach this week for her campaigning efforts for her brothers and other autistic children.
And how to introduce your pets to a new member of your house. We have advice for parents of furry friends and newborns now too.
Good morning.
Never thought of that.
Dr.
It's
Bobby's
really
here.
I love Dr.
And
Bob.
he has a newborn called Leah.
Does they had their baby?
So they had that challenge as well, because remember he brought his lovely doggy on one day
So
as well.
just practical advice for a big
Practical advice, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
It needs
Doesn't
to
have a
happen.
horse in the house, does he?
I hope not.
Oh, we can ask him that. I hope he
not?
brings it. I'd love a horse.
Imagine the litter box for a horse in a
You
house.
know what?
I don't think it's a box per se, really.
No,
would
it's a
it be?
trough.
Going along.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right, let's check in with the news that you're waking up to with Aisling Roach. Good morning, Aisling.
Thanks, Suzanne. Good morning. Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has told all civilians in the eastern Donetsk region to evacuate. The area has seen intense clashes as Russian forces slowly advance and now control large parts of the region. Speaking during a late-night address, Mr Zelensky urged people to leave, saying the more people who leave now, the fewer the Russian army will have time to kill. The President's intervention comes as Russia invited UN and Red Cross officials to investigate after 50 Ukrainian prisoners of war were killed in another part of Donetsk. In the US, devastating flash flooding has killed at least 25 people in East Kentucky, the worst such disaster there for decades. The governor said he expected the number of dead to continue to rise as hundreds of homes and businesses have been destroyed.
Rescuers and emergency services are still trying to get to any unsearched properties in eastern Kentucky. The scale of the operation is clear. The deadly flash floods have left a trail of destruction, wiping out entire Appalachian towns and leading to a large and difficult search operation.
This was something that didn't concentrate itself. A tornado has a path. It hits that swath and it's gone. This hit the entirety of the county. From one end to the other, it hit everything.
Already a number of people have been confirmed dead, including children. Unfortunately, the death toll is expected to increase. More rain is due this weekend and river water levels may only be peaking now following the heavy rain and storms. The White House has declared a major disaster for Kentucky, deploying state search and rescue teams to the region. The Biden administration says it will continue to monitor the situation and provide additional assistance if needed. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
Well, speaking last night, the Governor of Kentucky confirmed that this is still an active search and rescue investigation. And Bashir says today and tomorrow are critical days as more rain is due and people must take extreme care.
This is still an active search and rescue operation. We have not moved into a rebuilding phase and won't be in one for several days, if not potentially several weeks. Our goal today is to get as many people to safety as possible. And as people in these areas are looking at the next couple days, make a plan for Sunday afternoon through Monday when the storms leave. Make sure you are in a safe place. I don't want to lose one more person. We care about you. It's not fair this is going to rain again, but it is. We're pretty sure of it.
US President Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19 again in what has been described as a rebound infection by his doctor. The 79-year-old first contracted the virus on July 21st and was said to be experiencing mild symptoms. The president had tested negative for the virus 4 times between Tuesday and Friday last week. Last night, Mr. Biden said he was not experiencing symptoms but would isolate for the safety of everyone around him.
Hey folks, Joe Biden here. Tested positive this morning. Going to be working from home for the next couple of days, and I'm feeling fine. Everything's good, but Commander and I got a lot of work to do.
North Korea has reported no new cases of COVID for the first time since it admitted to an outbreak in May. There's been widespread doubts about the accuracy of North Korea's figures, as it reported a low number of fatalities and a slump in daily case numbers. Some experts say North Korea has likely modified the scale of illness and deaths to help leader Kim Jong-un maintain absolute control amid mounting economic difficulties. And today marks Reek Sunday, the annual pilgrimage to the summit of Croagh Patrick. Traditionally held on the last Sunday of July, the pilgrimage returns for the first time since 2019. Thousands are expected to climb the mountain in County Mayo.
Well, let's take a look at your Sunday paper, starting with the front page of the Sunday Independent. They open with jailed ex-Garda faces sex abuse investigation. Former Garda Paul Moody was jailed last week for a campaign of coercive control against his ex-partner and is now under investigation by the Garda Protective Services Unit over serious allegations of sex offences.
The Business Post leads with state asks GAA, IRFU and FAI to shelter refugees from Ukraine. The paper reports that the request is part of a government scramble to source emergency accommodation for Ukrainian refugees after the Aviva Stadium was used to shelter around 100 refugees just last week.
The Sunday Times opens with Sabina Higgins attacked over naive Ukraine post. The wife of President Higgins has been described as naive, patronising and guilty of West-splaining by government backbenchers and senior academics after calling for a ceasefire and negotiations in Ukraine.
Moving on to the tabloids now, the Irish Mail on Sunday reports that jailing of ex-RTE man is a lesson in consent. The paper writes that Justice Minister Helen McEntee has called for a national conversation about consent at the end of a week where a former RTE journalist was jailed for sexually assaulting a woman in her sleep.
The Irish Sunday Mirror opens with evil Garda's Paul Bales. The paper refers to jailed ex-Garda Paul Moody, reporting that a former ally who had paid €8,000 in bail for his friend has now turned his back and branded Moody a monster.
Over to the Sunday World, which leads with Kerry, I'm the fall guy. Katrina Carey has come out blaming an associate for orchestrating an €800,000 mortgage scam, branding herself the fall guy, though she still admits to having earned tens of thousands of euro in deposits from clients through the scam.
And finally, The Sun on Sunday's headline reads, Wagatha 2, Colleen Rooney, is said to be in talks to bring Rebecca Vardy back to court by launching legal action of her own in the wake of her libel win last Friday. Barry White, Chief Reporter with Bauer Media Audio, and Niamh Randall, Head of Advocacy and Communications with Respond, have joined us to talk through this morning's biggest stories. Good morning, guys. Thank you for coming
everybody.
in. We'll start with Sabina Higgins' letter. We might first tell us, Barry, about the letter, and then we'll talk about the response to that letter.
Yeah, so Sabina Higgins, a bit of a backlash here. As you said, she's been described as naive, patronising and guilty for West-splaining. We were just saying there, it's a new one on me as well. I've never heard that before. After she called for a ceasefire and negotiation. So basically in the opinions column in the Times, she wrote a letter calling for a ceasefire, calling for peace talks. But the reason this is so controversial is because she never really made much of a difference between Ukraine and Russia. She never called Russia the aggressors in this letter. So there's a whole string of politicians and other people coming out now criticising her, calling for her to apologise. I think when you look at this war in Russia and Ukraine, everyone wants to see peace. I think when we see the war and destruction, nobody wants to see people getting killed. But when you see the Russian ambassador, Yuri Filatov, he came out, he says, when he reacted to Sabina Higgins' letter, he said, we're all against war, which is a bit rich when the Russian ambassador's coming in, because Russia are the aggressors here. And I think that's why there's so much criticism of Sabina Higgins here, is because you have the likes of the Russian ambassador coming out and saying, yeah, I agree with her letter, we're all against war. So it'll be interesting to see if she will come out and apologise. This did appear on the President's website, but it was quickly taken down. So I know she's her own woman, Sabina Higgins, and that's her letter in an opinion column, but when it appears on the President's website, then you connect the two and people are asking, is this President Michael D. Higgins' opinion as well?
Niamh, I suppose, do you think this is more naivety on the part of Sabina Higgins, or do you think that because Michael D has been, the accusations have been levelled at him before, that he's pushing the boundaries of the presidential office, and maybe through his wife, that is the feeling maybe around this as well?
I think it's probably well-intentioned. I think, as Barry said, everybody wants an end to war, but I do think this concept of westplaining is important in this context, and it's really about denying agency for the people who are impacted by this, which is the people in Ukraine. And I think, there has been some expression of disappointment from people who feel that, like there they are, their country's been invaded, Russia are the aggressor here, and treating them as equal parties in this in terms of, let's come to a compromise, doesn't feel like the fairest way to address this particular issue. So I feel that's the sense in terms of this.
Do you feel it came from the intentions were right, but
I'm imagining so, and I'm imagining so maybe
yeah.
with awareness of the office of president not wanting to come out very strongly against any particular country. But I think it is quite challenging. I think the fact that it was on the IRA's website and has been withdrawn at this point in time, and now there are calls for President Higgins to come out and clarify his position in relation to it. And we did see that the UN delegation had to come out and say, look, we very clearly do see that Russia are the aggressor here, and they came out in support of Ukraine around this. So it's unfortunate, really, I think, at this point in time.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not doing the cause any good when having the Russian ambassador back people on the international stage. Well, seemingly the comments of our First Lady, to all intents and purposes, is not great internationally.
It's not great, and I think that probably is really an unintended consequence of this. I doubt that's what was intended by the action in the first place, but I do think maybe some clarification might be forthcoming.
And we're facing a crisis, of course, again down the line, because students are coming back to college. All the places that our Ukrainian refugees have been staying, and now so many of them are going to be off the table now in the coming weeks. What are the suggestions now we see in the papers today that the sports bodies are asked to step up to the mark?
Yeah, so the Department of Sport has confirmed it contacted the associations for assistance and said there are discussions ongoing to try and find places for Ukrainians to stay. Croke Park will not be available because of the 5 Garth Brooke concerts in the middle of September. Earlier this week, up to 100 Ukrainians had to stay in the Viva Stadium in Camp Bebs. I was actually at a press conference earlier this week. The Department of Integration had a press conference, and they're searching around the country to find places for Ukrainians to stay. They say that a lot of hotels will become available after the tourism season ends. But again, how long are hotels going to be viable? You can't be putting people in hotels. This war is probably not going to end anytime soon. So can you put Ukrainian refugees in hotels long term? We've seen this with asylum seekers in the past. It doesn't work. And at that press conference I was at, there'll be 50,000 Ukrainian refugees here by the end of August. So the number's continuing to grow, and it seems to be very badly organised. But hopefully those people who also volunteered to maybe give vacant properties or stuff like that to make them available when you contacted the Irish Red Cross. Hopefully some of those places become available. At this stage, the government seem to be getting it tight to find places for people to stay.
If the rooms aren't there, they're just not there. I mean, you can't magic them out of thin air, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're coming to a challenging time with this in terms of students returning to college, so any of the student accommodation being kind of used up. And I think what we have seen is a tender is issued to see if there's a possibility of anywhere who can offer more than 50 rooms for more than 6 months, be it hotel rooms or hostels or other kind of space in relation to all of that. But I think the challenge is, and we've seen the Irish Refugee Council kind of saying it's the challenge in the shorter term, but also in the medium and longer term in terms of what's going to happen in relation to this and the importance of responding to these refugees who are coming here at a time of crisis as well. And like my own organisation, we've been able to accommodate a very small number of families and work with them in one particular setting. But I think the challenge is, how can we do this at a greater scale in lots of organisations around the country? And I think one of the things that's worked very well is we have the Refugee Protection Programme here, which we've been involved in, which has been with refugees coming from Syria and from Afghanistan. And it's been a programme which has been supported by government, where we've worked with them as the implementing partner to support integration, to support around language skills, training, but also in terms of working with people around trauma and looking at trauma-informed practice as well, because, you've got a lot of women and children arriving, maybe their partners are still in Ukraine, still fighting, and they've seen very, very challenging things, and how to support people to deal with that trauma as maybe they settle in the longer term here, they get more used to it, they've got more time to kind of think around it as well. So ensuring that we actually actually have the support for people in housing. So yes, the housing or the accommodation is really critical, but also that support in housing is really important.
Do you think the situation will result in us having to provide more temporary accommodation like we saw already? I mean, are we going to have to build somewhere for people to stay? I mean, you can't provide services that you're talking about to the level that are needed in temporary accommodation.
I think we're going to see the challenge moving into the winter when the weather gets worse and it's colder. So the idea of tented accommodation on a temporary basis becomes a lot more challenging in that context. There are modular homes coming on board to work with this particular population. I think it's going to be 500 by Christmas. I think there's a commitment around 2,000. And I think, obviously then trying to follow through on the pledges that have been made, and people have been very welcoming in this country. And, I think it's a very positive thing that we do have, a government and state that is welcoming people arriving into the country in crisis. But then I think the challenge is how do we provide the accommodation or the housing in the longer term, and critically that support in housing for people to deal with the trauma, but also integration as well.
Yeah, we see in the Mail today then, I suppose, an issue that's becoming more and more relevant as the days pass on. A lot of cases have been appearing before the courts. Minister for Justice Helena Scully has called for a national conversation on consent, of course, on the back of one particular court case. Fill us in on that.
Yeah, so she's calling for a national conversation. We've seen 3 high-profile cases this week. Ortiz reporter Michael O'Donnell, he will start a 15-month prison sentence tomorrow, even though he stopped making sexual advances when his female companion complained they had engaged in consensual sexual activity before the incident. Looking at that, Ms. Micheál Martin says she wants to start this national conversation. Now, there was other high-profile cases this week as well. Separately, there was Dean Ward, who was sentenced to 17 years for the rape and coercive control of Donegal woman Sinead O'Neill. And then we had Garda Paul Moody, who was sentenced for 3 years. So 3 high-profile cases. It kind of brought me back to a press conference, another one I was at a few weeks ago, where the government launched this zero-tolerance strategy which is going to make society will look at that it won't accept domestic, sexual or gender-based violence. And one of the things that came out of that was that they're going to start teaching in schools about consent and about sexual gender violence. So it does need to start in school. I don't think I was ever taught anything about consent in school, and it was kind of you're taught it from your parents or other family members.
Sex education in school, never mind anything.
I know it's changed now. I know as a parent of teenage boys, I know that those conversations are starting to happen. And Barry's right, isn't he? Even it starts there in schools, isn't it?
No, absolutely. And I think there's research from the Dublin Race Crisis Centres which focuses on some people understand this in theory, but actually what does this look like in practice? What does this look like, in the moment, and how can we ensure that happens? But also that understanding that consent is something that can be withdrawn at any point in time as well, and people be very, very clear on that as well, that it's absolutely fine for people to change their minds and being sure that there's a sense around that. But I think it's been a really difficult week in terms of these cases being reported. It's been really difficult for people who are, on the receiving end of violence, coercive control, anybody who's been experienced sexual assault as well, to hear all of these cases coming out. I think the positive things we're seeing is that there actually is legislation to support the, criminalisation of these activities, that they actually are coming before the courts. So I think that's really, really important. And like in a previous life, about 20 years ago, I worked on the Women's Aid Helpline, and I heard women talking about these situations. And I know it's not just women who experience these, by the way, but it was in that particular context. And it's really harrowing, and it's really, really difficult. And I think part of the behaviours that you see, and we saw it very clearly in the Moody case, which was the ongoing behaviour to, cut women off from their context, to make them question their sanity, to make them question whether this is really happening, if this is their own fault. So I think it's really positive to see that there's legislation coming to ensure that we'd see prosecutions in these cases, but also the education piece as well that's going to happen earlier on to ensure we're talking about consent.
The sentencing issues need to be looked at as well, but that's another day's conversation as well, because the difference in them is absolutely astounding. Now, we'll finish today on something, I suppose, that is, it's a little bit lighter, but in one sense with what's going on in the world now, the record temperatures all around here in Ireland, all across the UK, the highest since records actually began. Climate change is becoming a bigger issue by the second. We're not talking about the year here now, but Taylor Swift, her carbon footprint is at the height of those in the entertainment industry.
She's topped the list of celebrities.
Wow.
Yeah, so she flew her jet flew 170 times between January 1st and July 19th. Now, her people have come out and said that Taylor's jet is loaned out regularly to other individuals. So they're saying this is a lie. She's not flying the jet 170 times. It's the people she loaned it to. Is that a good enough excuse? I'm not sure, but all these pop stars seem to be flying around.
Yeah, because the top
Coldplay said they wanted to become more environmentally friendly. they're going to do the world tour. I was just looking
by boat. Are they going to do that?
They're
Chris
going to have
it's a tricycle.
a kinetic
Chris could
dance
sing all the way
floor,
across the Atlantic.
A kinetic dance floor, their concerts and stuff. But again, for a world tour, you have to be flying around in a private jet, so their carbon footprint is still going to be quite high. But at least they're trying. But yeah, that's one of the things now. That's
looking at some of the other names and even the list. Taylor Swift tops the list. Floyd Mayweather. Jay-Z, A-Rod. Who's A-Rod, as a matter of interest?
He was a is it a baseball player? It's a baseball player, I think.
Maybe it's baseball.
He was engaged to Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, was he?
And one of the many.
Right.
Engaged to Jennifer Lopez, and then he did.
Do you think that being irresponsible, Niamh?
I think what we're seeing is, I mean, there's a huge kind of calling out on social media of Taylor Swift around all of this. I think she wouldn't be too impressed to be Taylor Smith, but in terms of being called out around that, and I think there is, that disconnect between, what I say and what I do, and she's been quite a champion in terms of climate change, and I think that sense of, we're also going to be monitoring people's behaviours around all of this as well, and I think that that's important, and I think it's interesting in this week where we saw the commitments around the 25% being agreed just at the end of the week, and I think I saw in Brendan O'Connor's article this morning where he was saying, quoting, I think he was quoting somebody else, but saying, that, the climate or the atmosphere doesn't understand compromise. No. And yet we have to make so many compromises in terms of trying to deliver this because we're trying to balance, people's need to make a living, to keep their income coming in, but also how do we try and tackle climate change in the longer term as well. So it's a really kind of balancing of those needs.
And it's a really, the likes of Taylor Swift now, they're so concerned about the message that they're sending out, yet the defence from her team that actually it's not her that's flying it, but her plane is flying with other people in it.
Yeah, so it's not. They're kind of saying her carbon footprint's okay. Oh, she's not flying that much, but other people using her jet. Right. Surely she should be trying to influence them and saying,
"Do as I say, not as I do." Isn't that what they say? Yeah.
Thank you for coming in, guys.
Thank you so much for joining. You're very welcome back to Ireland AM. 1 in 4 children today are lacking in vitamin D. Not a surprise, you might think, since we don't have an abundance of sunshine in this country.
But what is vitamin D and what can we do to help our kids? Here with all the answers is Helena Scully, the researcher behind the study with the Mercers Institute on Ageing. Good morning, you're very welcome to chat to us. Good morning. Now, I have to say, it's one of those things, just before we came on air, we were talking about it. I was very aware within the first 12 months of a child's life, but then after that, it kind of got lost on me, and I think that maybe they are. I'm wondering now, do we fall into your study? So first things first, what is vitamin D and why do our children need it so much?
Yeah, so vitamin D is a hormone. It's actually quite unique as a vitamin because it's the only one that we can make from the sun. Okay. So that's why a lot of people would probably know it as the sunshine vitamin. So it is unique in that way because we get about 90% of our sources from the sunlight. But as you know, in Ireland, we're quite lacking in the sunlight and we can't make any vitamin D between October and March. So it's because of that a lot of people are quite low in vitamin D.
Yeah, when you think of vitamin D, I mean, I think of Dickensian times, rickets, all these things. But what is it actively used for in the body?
So it's really important for absorbing calcium from your diet. So because of this, it's really important for your bone health. So that's why you see children who don't get enough calcium and vitamin D, they end up with rickets. And it's something that we're seeing on the increase in Ireland and in the UK. So it is really, really important for your bone health, and particularly during childhood and adolescence, where you're putting on that bone mass for the rest of your life. So basically, if you don't reach the highest levels you can when you're, in your late teens, early 20s, it means that when you get much older, you're more likely to get brittle bone disease. It's called osteoporosis.
So you really need to have the building blocks in place from an early age, so you won't have things like osteoporosis, maybe prone to arthritis, etc. when you're older. Vitamin D, it's fat soluble, isn't it?
That's it.
So ADA and K is fat soluble. So you can actually supplement it. You're not just depending on the sunlight to get it. So what foods are good for it? And obviously, how much of a supplement do you need to take if it does need to be included on that in your diet?
Yeah, so the Irish diet is kind of quite naturally low in sources that are high in vitamin D. So these are things like your oily fish, your salmon, your mackerel, your herring, egg yolk, and even mushrooms. So if you stick your mushrooms out in the windowsill, the ones you get from the shop, stick them out in the windowsill, they'll actually make vitamin D as well. Yeah, exactly.
I thought mushrooms weren't good for anything except flavour. That's mad.
That's it. But, a lot of people don't eat these food sources.
The kids especially are...
Exactly, yeah. So it's quite hard to get, oily fish into kids, I know myself. But so that's where people can rely on things like supplements, to get the daily dose. So you recommend for children, everyone between the age of 5 to 65 should get about 10 micrograms of vitamin D a day. alternate between their food and their supplement sources.
Is there more just in terms of the study did you find? So in girls or boys, are girls or boys more deficit, like, is it a gender thing at all, or is it just down to maybe the socio-economic background, or what are you finding?
Yeah, so we found 3 things from the study. The first was that girls were more likely to be deficient than boys, and we think that's down to, you know, girls are more likely to be vegan or vegetarian. You know, they're less likely to be out in the sun as much as boys are, because boys, you know, when they go out, they're less likely to cover up, they're less likely to have sun cream on, things like this. So because of that, we're finding that girls were actually more at risk. And then we also found that teens, so children that were over 12, were also more likely to have low levels, and this is because they're less likely to get fortified foods in their diet, so things like their cereals, their milks. You know, it's really important to kind of focus on these sources, and they're also less likely to take supplements. And then we also found that children in the lower socioeconomic areas, they were much more likely to be vitamin D deficient. So overall, we found that about 1 in 4 children had low vitamin D, but this actually increased to 1 in 3 when you looked at the children from the low socioeconomic areas.
When you look at the gender thing as well, because boys and girls, if you know yourself, boys tend, not generalising it, but they tend to be at team sports more. They're soccer, they're football, they're hurling, they're rugby, they're out in the air. And that would be more prevalent there. But as well as that, talk to me about sunscreen, because I know if you think vitamin D, we need to get it. Don't bother putting on sunscreen if the sun is out because I need the vitamin D. That's not what we should do either, because we need a bit of clarification on that, because you have to balance the health risks here as well.
That's it. So like I mentioned, you can only get vitamin D from the sun between March and October, okay? So kind of during the summer months, you know, that's the prime time to get vitamin D from the sun. But unfortunately, anything like clothing, you know, the clouds, sun cream, as you mentioned, anything like that will affect the amount of vitamin D that you can make. So, you know, obviously it's important to protect your skin in terms of skin cancer and this, but, you know, it takes about 15 minutes for vitamin D to be made once your hands, your face and your arms are exposed. So if you can put on your sun cream, it takes about 15 minutes for that to activate. So if you go out into the sun straight away, within that 15-minute window, you should be making some vitamin D for the day.
Can you store vitamin D? Yeah,
so you can store vitamin D, and you know, a lot of the time we see that people, you know, they go on holidays over the summer, and you know, they'll have their whole body exposed for, you know, a week or 2 weeks, and they'll actually make a good few months worth of vitamin D in that time. So that's why you kind of see it's after the summer, it's coming into the spring, into the winter, that people are starting to get lower levels of vitamin D. So you can store it in the body, but it's just important to make sure that you are getting some sources in your diet, you are getting a bit of sunshine to avoid getting deficient.
And can you, what else does it do apart from like helping your bone health? Because, you know, you mentioned holidays, people go on holidays, they feel great, they feel full of energy. Could that be due to a vitamin D boost?
Yeah, so we know that having low levels of vitamin D can cause things like fatigue and muscle aches and pains. So these are just kind of the low level symptoms that we find of deficiency, and then obviously the longer you have deficiency, the more serious consequences you're going to get down the line, such as, you know, you're more likely to fall and break a bone when you're older. So these are just some of the small things. We also know that vitamin D is good for, you know, preventing respiratory infections. So there was a lot of talk of it over COVID, obviously.
That's right, to hypersupplement.
That's it, yeah. So we do know that having low levels, maintaining your levels of vitamin D can help prevent respiratory infections, and particularly, you know, in children, it's been linked to, you know, preventing asthma, you know, heart disease, diabetes later on in life by making sure you have good levels when you're, you know, younger.
We need to
supplement ourselves. We're not getting enough sun in this country.
We're going into the pharmacy, we're like, is there vitamin D in that? That's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting to us. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Now we'll take a quick break. Stay with us. We're live until midday.
Welcome back to Ireland Day, and we hope you're having a fun Sunday morning wherever you're watching.
Coming up, an Israeli dish that will cover breakfast, lunch, brunch and dinner. It's like the Swift Army knife for food.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
We meet an incredible 11-year-old who got a private meeting with the Taoiseach this week to highlight the lack of supports for autistic children.
And if you've still got a wedding to attend before the summer's end, we've looks that will work if you're a guest on the big day.
And a step-by-step guide on how to introduce your pet to your newborn. Will be getting advice after 11.
Now, there was a wee text Rooney in.
Oh, was there?
Have we time for that text,
I thought
Rooney?
you were going to tell us the end of the story. story that you started.
I'm going to see if I can try and find it for us. Someone texted in about...
Oh, I have it here.
Go for it.
Earlier on, we were talking about carbon emissions and Taylor Swift, who has actually the highest emissions of any celebrity not because of her
private jet.
It's because of the private jet. Just to clarify that. Someone stopped Taylor Swift flying, and Irish farmers can relax about climate change.
There you go.
There you go.
That's a simple solution to a very tricky problem.
There you go now.
Right, let's take a look at your Sunday paper, starting with the front page of the Sunday Independent. They open with jailed ex-Garda faces sex abuse investigation. Former Garda Paul Moody was jailed last week for a campaign of coercive control against his ex-partner and is now under investigation by the Garda Protective Services Unit over serious allegations of sex offences.
The Business Post leads with State asks GAA, IRFU and FAI to shelter refugees from Ukraine. The paper reports that the request is part of a government scramble to source an emergency accommodation for Ukrainian refugees after the Aviva Stadium was used to shelter around 100 refugees just last week.
The Sunday Times opens with Sabina Higgins attacked over naive Ukraine post. The wife of President Higgins has been described as naive, patronising and guilty of West-splaining by government backbenchers and senior academics after calling for a ceasefire and negotiations in Ukraine.
Moving on to the tabloids now, the Irish Mail on Sunday reports that jailing of ex-RTE man is a lesson in consent. The paper writes that Justice Minister Helena Scully has called for a national conversation about consent at the end of a week where a former RTE journalist was jailed for sexually assaulting a woman in her sleep.
The Irish Sunday Mirror opens with Evil Garda's pal Bales. The paper refers to the jailed ex-Garda Paul Moody, reporting that a former ally who had paid €8,000 in bail for his friend has now turned his back and branded Moody a monster.
Over to the Sunday World, which leads with Carey. I'm the fall guy. Katrina Carey has come out blaming an associate for orchestrating an €800,000 mortgage scam, branding herself the fall guy, though she still admits to having earned tens of thousands of euro in deposits from clients through the scam.
And finally, the Sun on Sunday's headline reads, Wagatha 2. Colleen Rooney is set to be in talks to bring Rebecca Vardy back to court by launching legal action of her own in the wake of her libel win last Friday. Now, Susie.
I thought I'd bring a little bit of joy to your Sunday morning.
Please do.
You always do.
Thank you. That's why I wear pink and brightness. Right, so yesterday, it's Leo season, as we know.
We know. We're Leos.
Leo season.
Yeah.
All right.
OK,
yeah.
Thank you. And it was Kate Bush's birthday yesterday.
He's thrilled.
Did you know that every year in Fairview Park, easy for you to say, that like-minded Kate Bush fans get together in their twirliest red dresses and they all have a dance-along? Look at this.
That's fabulous.
So they all dance to Kate Bush songs, and it's $5 a head to get in, and all of everything that they are like that they
You
make.
have to pay to get in.
Well, it all goes towards women's aid.
And why the red dress? Is the red dress iconic?
Yeah, for Wuthering Heights. Yeah. For when she sings the song and she stands.
I'll wear a red dress tomorrow.
So you basically win, you dance to that song once, is it?
No, well, they play loads of Kate Bush. It's kind of an appreciation society for Kate Bush. Do you know my favourite part? They have the toilet facilities. Do you know what they're called? Kate Flush. Because the toilets. Kate Flush.
Well, as long as they're not running up that hill, you don't mind.
But you see, that's it. Think about it. Because of the pandemic, obviously, she's one of the only artists that made lots of money out of the pandemic.
4 million, they reckon.
Yeah,
Stranger Things.
Because of Stranger Things, because her song has been used in that. But this happens every year, even though I know, like, she's top of the charts and everything. But every year, Fairview Park, $5 in, goes to Women's Aid.
Wuthering Heights was her biggest hit, and now running up that hill has really topped it, because I'm halfway through Stranger Things at the moment, actually.
Are you enjoying it?
I love it. I love it.
Did you do Wuthering Heights for 6th year?
No,
that was my book, and then I went over to the Yorkshire Dales, and you could get why it was so miserable. Like on a wet day there, you could understand why.
You'd want to see someone coming out of a river in his white shirt.
Yeah, you'd be on him on the horse.
Especially if they kept playing that song over and over again. So there's a report in the Irish Mail that has found that some coffee shops, burger joints, I don't know whether I'm allowed named or not, but they're here anyway. It's in the Mail if you want to find out yourself. They're now they're not accepting cash anymore. So it's cards only.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
It's kind of happening.
Well, experts are criticising this, not for the inconvenience it presents to adults, but to children who don't have their own bank card. Like there's a report in here, and this Irish teenager said that he was out with his pals and they had to go to 5 different places in the city centre of Dublin before they could buy some food for themselves. Because none of them have bank cards.
Yeah, and not an awful lot of kids have those, like they're kind of bank cards. Yeah, the Junior Revolut. They're tied to the parents' bank cards and stuff like that. Because I think when the pandemic hit, nobody really, like I very rarely have cash anymore, which is a pain in the you-know-what.
Cash is king.
It has to be used. You can't just decide to not.
I noticed it myself recently. I was in the pavilions. I went in to get a snack with my eldest, who's 15. And order whatever it was, went to pay for it. No, don't take cash. So I don't have any cards.
I have everything on my phone. Are you the same? But my button at the side of my phone won't double click, but I need to double click to get my card to tap. Yeah. So last week I was like in town, I'm like, I have no card. I have no card in my bag. I had no cash. And I was like, eventually got my phone to work and it tapped.
I draw the line at the whole phone thing because that's a step too far for me.
But even for older people, for them to have, like younger people, you know, there is, of course, a large cross-section of society that will be able to do that. But then older people who maybe get their pension still in cash into their hand and they use that to pay for their...
And we know what happened when the AIB tried to stop their their branches from using cash. That went down like a lead balloon.
Soon there'll be technology where we'll either have the chip embedded or you'll have a barcode.
Or maybe
there was a story recently about a fellow who wanted a barcode on the back of his neck, you know?
Yeah.
And he got it done, apparently. He went and got it done, and his mates were going, I wonder what it is. So he had a pal of his who worked in Tesco's, right? And he went into Tesco's and they beeped, and it was a sliced pan or something.
Oh. No. I wonder what I'd be. Actually, I don't want to. No, I have to say, I was on Instagram the other day. Now it's the middle. Yes. It's the middle of the school holidays. Everyone's getting a bit fed up, and you know sometimes
we're having a great time.
Sometimes parents need a bit of peace and quiet, and that's fair enough. You know, they need to maybe a bit of a time out from their kids. But I was on my Instagram feed the other day, and one of my friends, Shane, put up this picture. His sister was babysitting a nephew of his.
Right.
And
as you do.
The nephew got a bit sick and tired of everything, so off he went into the dog cage. Voluntarily by himself.
He wanted a bit of peace and quiet, did he?
Brody went in there for a bit of peace and quiet, locked himself in so no one could get at him.
He's right.
And there he was in his iPad enjoying himself. Like when I was young, because I was 10 in our family, I used to go under the stairs. Under the stairs there was a kind of a wardrobe, a row of things, and I used to hide between the coats and go back with my flashlight and a book. But I thought that was a one-off. But you know what? When I re-Instagrammed it, whatever you call that, apparently he's not the first person to do it, because my friend Donna then sent me this. This is Lauren doing the exact same thing, sitting on the dog bed, happy out, getting away from the world.
Exactly, yeah. We all need our own little space.
I wish I had taken a picture yesterday, because both my kids were in their Auntie Julie's for a sleepover, and their dog, Winston, has a big cage, and she said both the kids have been in there. She said they put the covers over them. She said, she was delighted because it was really small and secure, and he was in there on his tablet, happy.
So are your kids doing that? Are your kids hiding around place just to get a bit of peace and quiet? You think you're the problem? But no.
And do you think we could fit them?
To be a fairly big cage now to fit me into. I get stuck. I'd be like a wrapped hand, you know, with everything coming out. Anyway.
There you go. There's still lots of time to get in touch. You can text her for free or WhatsApp us. The number is 0896 111 111.
Or you can email irelandam at virginmedia.ie.
And you can find us at Ireland VMTV on Facebook.
Facebook again.
Why am I saying space?
You need to trademark that.
I do. Twitter and Instagram.
Lord.
Facebook.
Right after the break, it's a classic Israeli breakfast, so don't go anywhere. It's coming up in the kitchen next.
Welcome back. Time for a staple Israeli breakfast now, though it can also be eaten for brunch, lunch or even dinner. Sounds like the meal for us.
Talk about perfect. Joining us with his recipe for shakshuka.
Get in there.
Yeah, Dvir Nusery from Mezze.
Mezze.
Exactly. Mezze.
Morning, guys.
Morning. You're so welcome, Dvir.
This is simple, Dvir, yeah?
It is simple. It's very straightforward.
OK.
We'll get into it.
So explain to us what Mezze is, first of all.
For Mezze is basically just like your Spanish tapas.
OK.
Yeah?
OK.
When you come to a restaurant, when you go to my mother's dinner on a Friday night, you'll get, first of all, the table full of little dips, little salads, some nice bread going on, yeah?
Right, what's going in, Dvir? Talk to us.
So we're starting with the shakshuka. First of all, fry the onions, yeah?
OK.
Now, shakshuka is... Am I right in saying it's an Israeli staple, but it's a Tunisian dish?
Exactly. It came with the Tunisian immigrants,
right?
The Jewish Tunisian immigrants. And that's the thing about the Israeli food. A lot of the Israeli food is a combination, is a mixture. Yeah?
But that's a good thing.
That's a brilliant thing.
That's what creates great dishes.
Yeah, like I say to many friends, you can find the German schnitzel and the hummus on the same table.
Oh, yeah. You know? Nothing wrong with that.
No, have a bit of everything there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we have the onions in. We have then a small little chili just to make it mildly spicy.
Okay, excellent.
Red pepper in there. And then, because we want to move on, make it fast.
TV time,
Exactly. We're going to add our garlic.
Gorgeous.
Nice little garlic.
And does every sort of Israeli dad have his own version of this, or is
that's exactly it. And we have in our book the recipe for this, also the story about this. One of my stronger memories is from my uncle and my father having basically a shakshuka off.
Really?
Oh, I love it.
I love it.
Arguing about
whose was the best though? You can't say.
You can't
say.
There was no issues about who was the best.
No.
It was everybody just dug in.
Enjoying the food.
Exactly. Yeah. Guys, we're moving on to the spices now.
Yes, absolutely.
What we got to show you one spice in particular is the hawayaj. Now, hawayaj, not everybody will have it in their own house.
Never heard
I understand.
of that,
It's a spice blend that came from Yemen, actually, with the immigrants.
So it's a blend. It's like a garam masala. It's a blend of spices.
It's kind of a blend, exactly. But since not many people will have that in their household,
right?
On your website, with the recipe, there'll be replacements for those spices.
Very good.
Cumin, turmeric, and such.
What else did you put in there, Dvir? On top, we
had hawayaj, we had some salt, a little bit of sugar, just to contradict the acidity of our.
Which is a very
tomatoes.
Italian thing. You'll see that in a ragu. You'll see a pinch of sugar in with the tomatoes.
Oh.
Smells in here incredible.
And then, once we have the tomatoes in, we went to let that cook for about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, let that reduce down.
Exactly. Let it reduce down, make it very, very saucy. Since we don't have those 15, 20 minutes, we have the sauce ready here.
Excellent.
Bubbling away for us, yeah?
Okay.
Now, that's the stage where we're happy with the sauce and we want to do the final touch to it.
Okay.
Final touch to it, we're going to put the eggs, the poached eggs, into this breakfast.
Okay.
Now, like I said, this is a breakfast.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it's a breakfast, but you can play around with it. You can make it whatever you want.
Yeah.
Some chorizo.
You can see. I was just going to say, you can see kind of influences because it's almost like huevos rancheros.
Exactly. Yes, I think.
Do you know what I mean?
This dish, a little bit of. If you have any.
That's all right. Yeah.
All right. Listen, chef, you do you. You're all good flying. I'm just more like, that's a real chef finger, isn't it? Just like asbestos.
He's got asbestos hands.
Meanwhile, I'd be like...
So many times.
But the influences are there from everywhere. You can clearly see it.
So you'll find this dish, I think, in different variations, different variations in different places around the world. In Turkey, in France, in different places. We call it shakshuka. That's what we know. We have the eggs in. We'll put one more, just
Why
to make
not? There's a lot of people here. You're dead right.
Might as well.
And tell us about this incredible book, because you put this recipe along with a lot of other recipes into this incredible book. I've been flicking through it for the last hour. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
But it's a labour of love doing a book cookbook, isn't it?
It was labour of love, a labour of a little bit of fighting.
Arguing,
a lot of arguing.
Yeah.
My wife and I, Nicola, my wife, she is my other half in Mezze, of course.
Yeah.
And I was I call it, Nicola is creative, I'm logistics.
Right.
Yes?
Right.
Okay,
I was doing the recipes, Nicola did everything else, basically.
Everything else. He just did the rest.
Do you know what? And you're right to say, we met Nicola outside, and your two lovely kids are here as well, because I asked who's the best cook in the house.
And
Oren, your son, said it was him who makes the best pancakes. I was like, I'm coming. And Adele just nodded along. So it's a real family. You can see it's real family food, it's real family affair. Yeah.
We love the cooking. It's a family thing.
This is family food that's in here, though.
Yeah.
And you guys are based in Tramore, so the lucky people in Tramore get to taste this on a regular basis.
You're worth the trip to Tramore, I'll tell you that much. You've 4 minutes. How are we doing bubbling wise?
We're good,
We're bubbling away. We have another minute or so for this.
So what are you going to serve it with? Yeah.
So it all depends on you about the eggs. Do you want them a little bit runny? That's the way I like it. I like to pierce it with my fork, and then a little bit of. If you want it a little bit harder, just leave it a little bit longer.
Okay.
I like to cover it so I can control how much I want it to be cooked.
Okay.
Once we have it finished, guys, I would always recommend to have it with your traditional breakfast. A little chopped salad, some tahini, hummus next to it, and something a little bit dippy.
You never had tahini. So tell Suzanne, what tahini?
Okay, tahini the original thing is basically sesame seeds.
Okay.
Grounded into a paste, just like peanut butter.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
From that is very, very sweet. The tahini, the raw tahini is very, very sweet.
Okay.
We play around with that. Originally, it's made to make cookies.
Okay. So
baking,
desserts, sweet treats.
But we make this savory dip with it.
And do you use that in cooking then as well?
Absolutely,
Would you?
definitely. So the tahini, what we'll do is we add to that some. And for me, guys, this will be ready.
Well, if it's good enough for you, it's
Listen,
good
Chef,
enough for
we're
us.
all for... Oh, my holy Moses.
Just to finish, a small little touch. We have to make it pretty.
Yeah, it's all about how pretty it is. No, it's not. It's about how it tastes. Right.
So if...
As I was saying about the tahini.
Yes.
Yes.
Add a little bit of lemon, a little bit of garlic, some salt, and you make it savory. Tahini, we know that with hummus.
Just put your... Oh.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
You don't need knives and forks here. We're going straight in. We don't need them.
Oh, look at that.
Go
We have them.
What? So, no, but so
But
did you just dip in with your...
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we'll do.
And this is just a little bit of...
That's a little
Oh, the
dip.
tahini goes in there.
No, it's a dip.
Lovely. He knows what he's doing.
Of course he
Wow.
did. Listen.
that.
And
this
then
man-
straight into
Oh
the
my
egg
God.
yolk. Yeah, boy, yeah. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, the tahini gives it more flavors, but you can always, of course,
Oh, my
replace
holy
that.
Moses.
Tapenade, olive tapenade with the tahini, or some matbucha, more Israeli stuff, yeah? There's many ways to do it. Hummus, of course. Jajik, which is a creamy yogurt.
That sauce is...
The
I'm
sauce.
so
Oh,
happy
my
you
God.
like
The
it, guys.
sauce is
freshness.
killer.
Oh, my goodness. But even for you, that like, you can taste a tiny little bit of spice in it, but it's just beautiful. Now, you make that look so incredibly easy.
But guys, it's easy. It's very, very easy, and that was our focus with the book. We want to make it easy. We have kids. We all have kids. We don't
Exactly,
always
yeah,
have
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
We come back home, wrecked. We want
You
something,
want something quick.
healthy, and quick.
But I think one of the secrets to your success is that you're using great ingredients.
We do put a very, very
Yeah.
big emphasis on our ingredients. We're always looking for new suppliers, new local suppliers.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the most common story I tell is I ordered from my supplier once carrots, or a big bag, 10 kgs of carrots, and he came over and the bag said Israel, packed in Israel. And although I was very happy to see it came from Israel, it's really not necessary, is it? Especially
You wanted them grown on your doorstep.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
exactly.
they're going to
There's
taste
no
better on
need.
your plate.
Absolutely.
Vera, that is sensational.
Thank you,
It was
guys.
so
I'm happy
wonderful.
you enjoyed
I'm
it.
telling you, not
We
just
look
first
forward
one
to
out
seeing
of
you
the
back
park, didn't
again,
you?
my friend.
Love that.
Love it.
Listen, the full recipe details are up on our website. More from Dvir. Check out Mezze. Mezze.
I'm going in.
Just
Up
sit
next, the 11-year-old who had the ear of the Taoiseach this week. We'll see you soon. Thank
Got
you,
full
Vera.
spoon.
Here, you can have one here. Welcome back. 11-year-old autism campaigner Cara Darmody met the Taoiseach Micheál Martin this week to call for urgent action for support and services for autistic people.
Both of Cara's younger brothers, Neil and John, are autistic, and she joins us now along with her dad, Mark. Thank you, both of you, so much for joining us today.
Delighted to be here.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
All the way up from Tipperary.
Yeah.
How are
Flying
you?
today.
Yeah.
Tell us, you're after having a busy week.
Yeah.
How did you get on with the Taoiseach? What was he like?
Well, I suppose I made it very clear to him that there's that this is basically a big problem, and I basically I convinced him that this is a national crisis, and he agreed that this is a national crisis and that he's going to do something about this. But I'm not going to go away until there's real action. But in reality, he was quite generous, as in he was open to criticism, and when we tell him what we were thinking, he was open to that, and he wasn't rude to us or anything. He was actually very generous.
He's a very nice
the meeting
man.
went very well, and we got 80 minutes with him.
Wow.
80
Did you
minutes.
really?
And keep in mind, most people probably only get 2 minutes, and we got 80 minutes, so that's very good.
Yeah.
And we are very happy with that. We are ready for a 15 minutes meeting, and no, we got 80 minutes.
Fair juice, you know.
Yeah.
So tell us about your two brothers.
Well, as everyone at this stage will probably know, I have two brothers, and Neil is 9 and John is 5, and basically they're both severely autistic. And what I mean by severe is that like what I would classify as severe, like they can't talk and they wouldn't really understand stuff, and like they'd be basically delayed in like loads of stuff. Like they would have been delayed in walking and like toilet training. Well, Neil isn't even toilet trained, and basically one of the things that we told the Taoiseach was like comparing Neil and John, that basically in simple words that John got the services and Neil did not. And basically we also told them that like that these kids are being treated disgracefully, and they're basically being treated like third-class citizens because like they can't talk, they can't speak for themselves. So then people like me and my dad, we have to speak for them because the government won't do what they're meant to do. So we're going to be speaking for these kids.
But you take it very seriously because this is your family, and you can see that the way they're not being helped. And as you say, you're their voice.
Yeah. We are their voice, to be honest, and this includes my dad too, because I suppose Daddy helps me with all these things. So, but like, you know, it's just sad because like that it's like they can't do the normal things, and then it's like the government isn't even giving them these services. Like they can't give them like speech and language, like therapies, like OT, psychology and all that, and a bunch of others. I just can't name them all now.
Things that are designed to help them, though.
Yeah, and it could take like a couple of months, like 1, 2, 3, 4 years to get it. But then the worst part is that then when the government says you can have it, then the problem is that there are no services, or there's a lack of them, so then you can't get it because like there's like no services there. And also the Taoiseach got into some like complicated stuff like psychiatry and all that with my parents, which is what my dad's going to talk about in a second. And also I would also just like to say a big hello to my mum and my 2 brothers at home, and to everyone in Ardfinnan, and basically everybody who's watching this. There's probably a couple 100,000 people, so I want to say hello to everybody.
Well, I have to say, it doesn't surprise me in the least that you got 80 minutes with Micheál Martin, because you're well able to stand up for yourself and your brothers.
I am.
For you.
You are
Good
indeed. Now, Mark, I suppose you've been banging this drum for years now. What is life like for you and your family at the moment? Services the way they are?
Yeah, look, I suppose the one thing is this, what made this very unusual was we actually didn't ask for any services for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's why I think she has credibility. We're not going up there asking for a list of things, and that's very unusual. We brought up the national issues. So, you know, life for many families like ours is extremely hard. And it's very challenging because the boys are challenging. They are 24/7. So we'll say recently in front of the Dáil Committee, the HSE said, we're trying to solve this problem 24/7. No, you're not. We actually are the ones who are working 24/7. They finish at 5 o'clock. Whereas parents like us have to do 24/7. So like Neil needs full-time care even in the middle of the night. Like for example, we say my wife might have joined this by Zoom today. She couldn't because Neil didn't sleep until 6:30. And there's chaos in the house this morning due to the lack of sleep and things like that. So many thousands of parents who would have similar experiences would know what I'm talking about. So we really wanted to explain to the Taoiseach what's happening on the ground.
A lot of people don't seem to realise that the differences that there are in the autism spectrum disorders. I mean, you can go from mild and people are quite sociable and can actually go mainstream, but then you have the other end of the scale, the things that you're living with. How important do you think it is for people to realise just how debilitating it can be for families when they don't have anything? They're just grasping at straws to try and keep on a bit of normality, a bit of normal life for their families.
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, you hear these 2 words, early intervention, but it just doesn't occur.
No.
And like there's this both of our boys, like one was diagnosed at 4 1/4, the other was 1 3/4. There's that 2.5 year window of opportunity. One got it, the other didn't.
And who was diagnosed first?
Sorry, Neil was our first. We were totally oblivious to this. He was diagnosed at 4 1/4.
So do you think it's because of that your younger child was diagnosed so quickly?
But like the whole theory of early intervention is that we get it, but it's exactly 100% essential. But for your first time, parents are out there, you are totally oblivious. You don't even know what autism is. And we found ourselves in that boat. But the second time around, you are clued in. Now, thank God most parents don't have to go through it a second time.
No.
But we did, and you are clued in. But I just feel for all the families out there who just don't get that intervention. But even if you had, look, what's kind of known as mild autism or whatever, you still need that key intervention to help you, and you deserve that. But nobody is getting any service. There just simply is no service.
In terms of you talking to other parents and other families who are going through what you're going through at various different levels or whatever different degrees, what are the most common things that parents need now?
I suppose what made this meeting was, before we got into the technical issue, we explained to the Taoiseach what needs to change is it needs to be treated like action, that they're not treating it like it's a national crisis. It is acceptable now to say, well, you have to wait 3 years before we even see you. Yeah. That's just seen now as acceptable. We said to him that has to stop right now, that you must see this like the house is on fire, but that you're not acting like it's on fire. Now, I have to say, to be fair to him, like the time itself, he gave us massive time. We got to bring up all the issues. As you can see from Cara, she spoke there for 2 minutes straight. She spoke for a long time with similar things. Yeah. I mean, his ears have to be red. For a long time.
But he's hearing these stories for a long time. And back as when he was Minister for Health, he was hearing these stories.
Absolutely.
And what's changed since then?
What I said to him very clearly was, what I think has to happen is, it's like a parent and a child. The parent has to come in and take full control of this. They need to take control of the HSE, who are doing an absolutely disgraceful job with how they're treating children. They're not properly recruiting people. They're not doing what they're meant to be doing. So if they can't do it, then they need to be shoved aside and get private contractors. Somebody has to come in and treat this like it's a house on fire. That's what they're not doing. They think it's acceptable to just kick the can down the road for another year or 2 years.
The realistic implications of all of this, I mean, when we have yourself, Cara, and you're doing a very grown-up job and you're only 11, I mean, you have an awful lot of responsibility on your shoulders being the big sister as well. How do you feel about that?
Well, I suppose, like, I like being the big sister because that means I can, like, protect them and, like, I am their voice and, like, they can't talk and they can't do certain things. So, I'll protect them from the people who would take advantage of them, like the government, when they're not doing their job. I'll fight for them so that they do get their services and that they do, like, that they are in safe hands and that they're not in danger in any way.
Are you kind of doing that 24/7 yourself, minding your brothers and helping your mum and dad?
Yeah, I am, to be honest. The only time I wouldn't be is when I'm falling asleep, because once I go to sleep, I can't really wake up then.
Well, you deserve your rest, because you sound like you're a very busy young lady.
And just like to come in there, like it breaks our heart as parents that our child has to go through this. There isn't a day where I'm not on the verge of breaking down. Like, I've just, like, that this is what's happening, that this is our family, that she's even here today in the public spotlight. She should be doing cool camp like everybody else, you know, but like she does. Like, I mean, but I wouldn't like viewers to think either that, like, she's this military soldier who's, like, even like the other day she made this daddy bracelet which she's insisting that I wear. You know, the whole
fabulous.
time.
You're lucky to have that.
And my street cred is gone now, but she is still an 11-year-old. She acts like an 11-year-old. Sport is number one in her life. Her friends, her social life, everything is number one. But as she said to me one night, Daddy, I'm kind of like Batman for an hour every week, and I'm going to put on my cape and I'm going to do this. And there was a very funny moment when she told the Taoiseach with her, do you want to tell him what you said with your Arnold Schwarzenegger moment?
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. In the Terminator, I told them that I'll be back. And if he doesn't do anything about it, that I'll be back. And when I come back, I am going to make sure that we get what we want so that my brothers are in safe hands. But not even my brothers, like other people's, like, sons and daughters. Because other people have children who can't talk, like in Skull Cormac and, like, loads of other schools. I just can't name them all now because I don't have enough time. But, like,
but that's the whole point, is that there's a load of people in the same situation as you, isn't there?
Yeah, sure. We were asking Taoiseach, like, for things, like, for everyone else, but we didn't ask him once for anything for ourselves. This because, like, in this family, we like to help others, not help ourselves. Like, when someone, like, falls over, we like to help them, not, like, think of, like, oh, how will this benefit me? We like to help other people.
Well, listen, your brothers have the best big sister.
Don't they just?
Absolutely, they do. And you make great jewellery as well.
Yeah, I'm jealous. Your street cred is way up there with that, I'm telling you now.
We appreciate you coming in.
No, absolutely. And sorry, if I could just say...
You asked me, go ahead.
I was just wondering, I was thinking of being a Taoiseach, but I've decided I might want to be in one of, like your job on Ireland AM. So I was wondering, how much do you get paid?
Oh, listen.
That is the burning question.
I'll tell you what, I'll whisper it to you, will I?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll whisper it to you.
You'd be better off being Taoiseach, let me tell you.
See, I told you, she laughed at my salary. I'll tell you when we go to a break.
Yeah.
Listen, you go over, sit over there, and you read the next bit.
Do you know what you do, right? You can be a TV presenter here for a second. Oh, no. Do you want to read that? Right, see where it says...
read that bit.
Can you read that? You can do that. Can you read that bit?
That one?
Yeah, can you read it?
After the break, we're at the catwalk. Fashion is next.
Hey! Very welcome back. Now, if you're attending a wedding this year, and let's face it, who isn't, but if you're struggling for what to wear for both day 1 and 2, we've got you covered.
Stylist Emily O'Donnell joins us with some options. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
Good morning, ladies.
We're jumping straight in this morning, and you're bringing a little bit of glass and a little bit of glam to the
I
day.
certainly am. Wedding season has certainly extended this year because of the pandemic. Usually it ran up till about August, but now it's going right through to Christmas.
Okay.
So I have some gorgeous options here from three of Ireland's top retailers. So this gorgeous dress that we're seeing first of all on Ursula is from memoriesboutique.ie, as is the whole look. But I'm going to start today with these gorgeous sunglasses. Memories, of course, based in Carlingford, are one of Ireland's leading retailers, and they are famed for their incredible accessories. They have a lot of designer-inspired pieces like these shades. So if you just want to add a bit of fun to maybe an outfit you already have, the shades are the way to go. But what I love about this look is the beautiful dress. This is inspired, of course, by Dolce & Gabbana. It is 100% cotton. I featured something similar on the show a few weeks ago, and it sold out within minutes.
Beautiful.
So if you want this dress, act fast. Memories specialise in phone orders as well, it has to be said, because if you're like me, sometimes you want to ring up and get a little bit of advice on size and on colour and often matching up things as well. Memories have the most extensive range of accessories in the country, as we can see here with this gorgeous bag and the beautiful blue shoes. I just think it's a really designer-inspired look. I know they've caught your eye, the shoes, because they are a direct copy of the Jimmy Choos, as is the bag. The bag looks like the Bendita Brunches bags that we see in Brian Thomas that cost hundreds. And I have to say, if you have an outfit at home and maybe you want to up-to-date it, Memories is the place to go. It's run by a great mother and daughter duo.
I really don't need any more shoes.
You did say yesterday about a blue shoe.
Stop showing shoes.
This
I have a problem.
Very slick
Isn't it?
suit.
Daniel is looking super sharp here in Benetti menswear. Benetti, of course, need no introduction. They are one of Ireland's leading menswear stockists, and they specialise in both casual and formal wear and do both really, really well. I just think this is so cool. The three-piece suit isn't going anywhere. For weddings or indeed for wedding guests, this can be styled up in so many different ways, because of course you can wear the waistcoat and the jacket in a different way. But what I love about the suit is its cut, its tailoring. They're both impeccable. Benetti specialise in really good quality pieces, all of which can be seen at benetti.ie, and you can customise your look. What we were looking at outside is you can actually add a lighter jacket if you just want to go with maybe the waistcoat and the trousers, and you can make it a little bit more contemporary. But I think for weddings, people do like to have the really sharp suit, and of course there's lots of race meetings back now, so it's always good to have a really nice tailored suit in the wardrobe. And the great thing about Benetti is they really take into account the sizing as well of men. They can make any man look good, and I think if you get something made and it fits well, it's actually going to make your body look even better.
Suits are like makeup for men.
Suits are like makeup for men. I love that.
They really are.
Elena always coins a great phrase every
someone
week.
in the suit and you just have mwah, and they might look great without it, but you
It's got a lovely wool mix. You want good quality as well, so you don't get hot under the collar, I have to say that. So Natalia is out next, and Natalia is wearing learboutique.ie. Lear have actually fast become an Ireland AM favourite due to the fact that their prices and sizes are so on point. This gorgeous dress runs from a size 8 up to a size 20, and it also comes in green and pink. And I just think it's really figure flattering and friendly. If you're going away, you want something that's pretty, but also something that you'll wear again. If you're going to a foreign wedding, that's it. If you want to go to a foreign wedding, you can pack it, you can wear it again. It's got pockets.
There you go. So
you can eat, you can relax. It's not going to crease in transit. That's something that a lot of people were asking for, something that won't look like a rag when you arrive.
I don't have green shoes
And
either.
I'm like, you brought the blue, and then I didn't, and it's like, now there's a pair of green shoes.
I do like my colourful shoes, it has to be said.
Inspired, and Sonia from Lear is waiting by the phones to take your order. She loves chatting to the...
Hello, I'll have a blue and a green, please.
To the Ireland AM customers, and I think that's part of the thing for the Irish retailers is they love the interaction and the feedback. So
thank you so much,
holler
Emily.
if you like what
Thanks a million again, Emily. Jeannie Mac. Right, we'll take a quick break. Lots more to come between now and lunchtime. Do stay tuned. You do not want to know what they were just talking about. Hello there. You're very welcome back to Ireland AM. It's Bank Holiday Sunday, the 31st of July. It's almost autumn.
Parenting, we were discussing.
Yeah.
Still to come, is your cat a people person? Well, we'll be looking at the best ways to introduce your pets to new friends, families, and even babies.
Cats are people persons.
I met the little baby outside.
Oh, there's a baby! In fashion, we'll have more styles. If you're attending a wedding before the end of the summer, you would have bumped late. I don't need another baby, honestly.
And the Aussies may have already lived through the heartbreak, but we are here in Ireland still another few days before Kylie and Jason say goodbye to Ramsay Street. We're looking ahead to the final Neighbours and the rest of this week's Top Telly. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Are you sure?
I watched a little clip of Susan Kennedy walking through Ramsay Street for the last time the other day.
Will we sing especially for you?
No.
For car insurance, van insurance, or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
This morning, we can expect cloudy skies with some lingering rain or drizzle. Conditions in the northwest will be brighter and drier, with temperatures across the country ranging between 13 and 17 degrees. This afternoon, we'll see more widespread bright weather with sunny spells and only a few isolated showers developing. Temperatures will range between 16 and 19 degrees. And tonight, we'll see mostly dry and calm conditions with some mist and fog, with rain falling across the southern half of the country as we reach morning. Overnight temperatures will range between 15 and 20 degrees.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points. The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote.
Well, let's take a final look at your Sunday paper, starting with the front page of the Sunday Independent. They open with jailed ex-Garda faces sex abuse investigation. Former Garda Paul Moody was jailed last week for a campaign of coercive control against his ex-partner and is now under investigation by the Garda Protective Services Unit over serious allegations of sex offences.
The Business Post leads with State asks GAA, IRFU and FAI to shelter refugees from Ukraine. The paper reports that the request is part of a government scramble to source emergency accommodation for Ukrainian refugees after the Aviva Stadium was used to shelter around 100 refugees just last week.
The Sunday Times opens with Sabina Higgins attacked over naive Ukraine post. The wife of President Higgins has been described as naive, patronising and guilty of West-splaining by government backbenchers and senior academics after calling for a ceasefire and negotiations in Ukraine.
On to the tabloids now. The Irish Mail on Sunday reports that jailing of ex-RTE man is a lesson in consent. The paper writes that Justice Minister Helena Scully has called for a national conversation about consent at the end of a week where a former RTE journalist was jailed for sexually assaulting a woman in her sleep.
The Irish Sunday Mirror opens with Evil Garda's pal Bales. The paper refers to the jailed ex-Garda Paul Moody, reporting that a former ally who paid €8,000 in bail for his friends has now turned his back and branded Moody a monster.
Over to the Sunday World, which leads with Carey, I'm the fall guy. Katrina Carey has come out blaming an associate for orchestrating an €800,000 mortgage scam, branding herself the fall guy, though she still admits to having earned tens of thousands of euro in deposits from clients through the scam.
And finally, the Sun on Sunday's headline reads, Wagatha 2, Killian Rooney is said to be in talks to bring Rebecca Vardy back to court by launching legal action of her own in the wake of her libel win last Friday. My word, there's a lot of comments coming in for young Cara.
Cara has absolutely stole the show today, and rightly so. Pat texted in to say, put that girl in government now.
Yes.
Sean has said we could all learn a thing or two from Cara, better spoken than half her politicians and still in primary school, rightly so. I love this. Molly said, what a great interview. That girl will definitely be Taoiseach and probably also present Ireland AM on the weekends. Absolutely. And what an amazing young girl. Congrats, Cara. Everyone should watch this interview back. She'll definitely be back. And one of the standouts was that, like, I mean, I was watching her and she's 11. She was so articulate. And we noticed as well, Simon, to be an 11-year-old girl, she's going about her business, she's hanging around with her friends, she's going to school, but she'd just be so incredibly caring and to have such empathy. I know, obviously, it's her family, but she's just so much broader than that. It's about every child across the country. So she's just a credit.
She's a dote, isn't she?
And she was at pains to say that they weren't there asking for something for themselves. They were there. She was there on behalf of all of the families who are looking for better services. She's an incredible young girl.
I don't think we're looking at the Taoiseach. I think Ursula von der Leyen would want to be looking out for her job because she's going straight to the top. And you know what? You said as well, it gives us hope actually for the future.
It does, yeah. You can sleep well early.
You're kind of so used to everyone, young kids wanting, I want to be a model, I want to be a celebrity, I want to be a pop star, I want to be a footballer. But she's like, no, that's not her preoccupation. It's lovely
you
to
think
see.
about the amount of money the politicians spend on media training.
Yeah.
They should watch that interview back.
Yeah. Have a go with Cara.
Got her point across.
Yeah.
Several times.
Yeah.
But did it with a smile, did it with passion, with conviction. What a sweetheart.
I'd love to be in a fly in the mall for the meeting between her and Micheál Martin. I'd
80
say
minutes.
80 minutes with the Taoiseach. That's hard to come by.
They were on your top line points as well.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I hadn't really dug deep in that, but thank you. And she really was a great inspiration.
We were chatting earlier on as well about the amount of shops that are now no longer accepting cash. Seems to be a lot of sort of fast food places. Mark said, I'm working in a restaurant, and one good thing I've noticed about cards over cash is that customers have to look you in the eye when they're leaving a mean tip.
Do you tip? Are you a good tipper?
Yeah, absolutely.
I always do the thing as well, because now you tap. My first question is like, does this go straight to you?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm like, is it going into a...
Everyone I know who works in the catering industry anyway, they'll all say, please give a cash tip, because there's always, if you can. But, I mean, that's if places aren't accepting cash, what you do. Una says, I'm just back from 10-day break to Belgium by ferry. It was cashless all the way. There were loads of people who only had cash and couldn't do a thing. They just sat there on the boat.
So
that's ridiculous.
I don't understand it. I know why they're doing it, and they want to keep us out of the banks, and they want everything to be digital and online. But you saw the U-turn the AIB had to make.
Yeah,
we're not ready to give up paper cash.
No. Jennifer, and I am guilty a bit. This is why I don't have a credit card, by the way. I'm terrible for overspending with cards. Asher, it's only a few quid. When you can tap, you lose track of how much you're actually spending. Yeah. Cash is always better.
That's what Paul Merriman calls it. You go tap dancing with your card down grab.
Oh, I nighttime tap dance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my night shopping, especially on night feeds when I used to be feeding. I used to just sit there because you just double click Apple Pay. It's like, or I have and I'm gone. Like, sure, 4 days later, a coat arrived. Thought Joey bought it as a present. I bought it at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Sleep buying.
Sleep buying. Yeah, I do it myself.
The best thing to do with a credit card is put it in the freezer in a block of ice, and then. No, listen to me. Listen to me. No. Sinead Ryan, who was here yesterday, she gave me this tip years ago. If you insist on needing a credit card, so put it there. So by the time it's defrosted,
you'd have changed your mind.
You'll really know if you want it or not, or if it was an impulse buy.
Don't save them all on the phone. Is that?
Don't save them on the phone. Save nothing on the phone.
Saved on my phone.
Don't remember the number. Have it in a block of ice. I don't know.
Right, there's still loads of time to get in touch. You can text us for free on WhatsApp. The number is 089 611 111.
Are you looking at me as if I've lost my head altogether?
No, I think you should have your own segment of financial tips that include fridge freezers. You can email learndayev@virginmedia.ie.
Nobody needs financial advice from me. You can find us at Ireland VMTV on Facebook and Flitter and Instagram. I know, lads. I know.
Oh, Lord.
Up next, would your pets get on with it? Flitter. You'll find more on Flitter. And we'll be back in just a minute. On the Else Facebook. Follow it.
Very welcome back. Having new people in your house can be a stress, whether they be family, friends, or even a newborn baby. But if you think it's bad for you, how do you think your furry friend feels? And I'm not talking about any partners you may have that mightn't have shaved. No. We're talking about the animals in your life.
Here too with advice on introducing your pet to your new family member is vet Dr. Bobby Ortiz, who's been putting all of his advice to good use since the arrival of his newborn baby daughter, Leah.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't got out to her yet.
She's beautiful.
Oh, look.
She is an absolute gorgeous creature.
Is she good? How are you finding it all good?
She's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
And how is your other baby doing since the arrival of Leah, though?
Actually, he's been doing very, very good.
Yeah.
I think we actually put a bit of my own advice to use at home.
Good.
And started really early, getting him used to a few things as we knew that she was coming. Getting used to even crying baby sounds and maybe some small adjustments of him not sleeping in the bedroom, sleeping in the kitchen area. and even getting the pram out and getting him used to kind of walking alongside the pram.
Yeah.
So Dr. Bobby has a dog at home.
No, I know that. He brought him in.
Yeah.
The first time he came in. I love
Just in case you didn't know.
So it's a really big adjustment. I know for us, for our in-laws, so for my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, they had our Mitchell, and unfortunately we lost him last week. But he was 7 years, like obviously 7 years with us. But from the minute that Oisín was going to be born, it was all about having a teddy for Mitch and a teddy for Oisín and the pram. And in fairness, they ended up just side by side and became, and Hannah's arrival, he was a lot more chilled out. But it is a big adjustment for everybody involved, isn't it? Especially if you're very focused on your number one baby being the pet in your house.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a big transition. I think especially cats, but dogs as well, are so routine oriented, you know, so they're so used to waking up, being fed at a certain time, going on a walk. You go to work, you come back, all that. And a baby comes in that needs to be fed every 2, or if you're lucky, 4 hours. That's being fed, up, crying, all that stuff. The routine completely gets turned upside down. So there's lots of different changes, not just the, you know, we kind of think of the crying sounds.
Yeah, so there's a difference between how dogs and cats will adjust. First of all, we've got 2 brothers here.
Yes,
one's in a cage and one's sitting on your lap, Carl and Letty.
Yes.
And tell us about cats particularly first, since we have them here. What should you do if you have a cat who's the centre of your life until this point?
Yeah, I find most cat owners, that tends to be their cat is the centre of their life. So that's a big adjustment. I'd say cats, even more than dogs, are really, really routine, as we said, oriented. And also, I think approaching cats versus dogs is very different. You know, they react to things very differently. And, you know, they're able to get into higher spots. So that's another, you know, concern that we have to take in, is that you have a nursery, you have a pram, you have the bassinet, and you're worried about the cats jumping into that. So setting up everything, you know, earlier, getting them used to, adjusted to it, and also allowing cats to kind of investigate the room and getting used to that ahead of time. And then a big thing as well is also setting strict limits. So making sure they know where areas they're not supposed to go and where off limit. And one good technique as well is double-sided sticky tape. Cats hate walking on sticky things. So what you can do is, if you have a piece of cardboard, you can put a bit of sticky tape on that. And if you don't want them to go on the bassinet or the changing table, early on, put that on. And when they start to go walk up, they realise it's sticky and they'll stay away from that area.
It's a bit of a concern.
Yes, you agree.
I'm just agreeing with you completely. With concerns sometimes with cats and pregnant people as well, isn't there? When it comes to certain conditions, you get toxoplasmosis.
Yes, absolutely. So it is something that we would deal with quite often, obviously on the animal side, you know, not the human side, but it is something that it really comes down to so pregnant women who are first-time, you know, cat owners, and it's usually a benign parasite that cats can pick up and sheds in their feces. So the big thing I would say is for any pregnant women to stop changing the litter trays. So that comes down to the partner to take care of that during the whole time, and then also to reach out to their GP. And there is tests that can be done to make sure that they already have it, or if they do test, that it can be treated, but as long as it's caught early.
And when it comes to scent and cats as well, you do have to be a bit careful there. So there's ways of introducing the familiarity there. Bring us through that. Yeah,
absolutely. It's the same for dogs as well. It's a really good technique. I was very lucky that I was able to come home and was able to introduce Bodhi to some smells from Leah. So we brought some baby grows and vests and different things home. But really, really important for cats as well. I think they sometimes get forgotten about that, but leaving those baby smells, a chance for them to get introduced to the smell before the baby comes in, and knowing that it's just a vest, nothing's wrong there, and then the baby can kind of be introduced later.
Could they be like, obviously, because you're going from your animal being the centre of your earth, your cat or your dog, so they're going to have jealousy, aren't they? Because like, if all attention is on them, and as you said, there's feeding involved, so you could put things in place as in terms of smells and make sure that everything is safe-wise. But then how do you support your animal in that transition? Like,
I think a lot of people do run into that. In that, you know, obviously, even for ourselves, our dog was our world. You know,
dogs are needier than cats as well. My God, I know that. I had one for eight long days and never again. And yes, Prince, I'm talking about you, Lillian. I'm never doing it again as long as I live. But yes, they are quite needy compared to cats.
Absolutely.
So there's a different set of rules, is there, for dogs and cats?
I think just getting them used to. I don't know if I'd fully say different set, but I think getting them used to not being the centre of attention. You know, they do kind of say, stop paying as much attention to them before the baby comes, so they're used to. I think that's really difficult for all of us. But I would say on the opposite side of that is that try not to forget about them. You know, I know obviously the baby is is going to take the full focus it has for us. But really do everything you can to make sure that they're still getting attention, you know, they're still getting time and affection, even though it might not be as much, you know, as for your dogs, they're still getting out walked or thrown the ball. And then there also is other options, especially for dogs, like dog walkers or even doggy daycare, you know, if you really feel bogged down and you can't get... Oh, you agree as well. There is catty daycare, I'm sure, somewhere.
Along the line. But it is one of those things because I suppose the transition of the baby arriving into the house, and again, it's upheaval again for cats and for dogs and for your pets, that when the baby arrives, you've gone through all of that and then you're falling into a new routine. It's like, do you find that pet owners struggle a lot, Dr. Bobby? Do you think that, like, because you've gone from something being so all-consuming to a big, you know, it's a change, like having a baby in the house is consuming. Are you noticing that when people come in, that they, like, I mean, you guys, like, how are you finding it?
Absolutely. It's not, well, completely own up, it's not easy, you know. Obviously, for my wife or I, you know, taking on a huge responsibility with already a huge responsibility. You know, dogs and cats are massive responsibilities. So I do think, you know, to get a dog or cat, you really have to make sure that you're ready to take that on, especially if you're planning to have a baby or have your family grow and having people over. You know, even for that aspect, you need to make sure that you're ready to take that on. So there's a lot of aspects. And I think I do get a good number of people that have come in, you know, asking for questions, you know, asking about questions about behavior, adjustments and things like that. And they're actually a great, you know, specific animal behavioralist that will come to your house, address a lot of those questions as well. That, you know, again, as vets, we're more dealing with the medical sickness and kind of treatments and stuff, but also we're directing them to the people that, you know, to help them get the help they need for their pets.
And I mean, it might seem obvious, but obviously you should never leave a baby alone with any pet. Because the aforementioned jealousy, and sometimes we've seen over the years some tragic stories. At the end, because jealousy does happen, and the baby can be treated as the enemy.
I think 100%. I mean, even for us introducing, even though I know Bodhi, our pup is so, you know, so gentle and has been so gentle with Leah, we still, you know, never know. I would never leave, you know, unsupervised. That's a big thing, is to never leave the baby unsupervised, never leave the baby on the floor, where the cat or dog can get to always be holding your baby, introducing them to your animals at home. I think a big thing as well is we also kind of think, and I've probably seen loads of really cute videos online of people, you know, their baby sitting next to their dog.
Snuggling their dog.
Pulling on the ears, all that stuff, and they kind of think it's cute. And to be honest, you know, I would look at that and see a very stressed dog that, you know, thankfully doesn't turn around to bite, but, you know, might
put them in a position.
Now tell me about Carl and Lenny now, because they're up for adoption, as so many of the creatures you bring into us are. And he's lovely, and he's very friendly, and he's only a kitten.
He is. They're only about 10 weeks.
Lucky he's alive.
Yeah, so unfortunately, these two brothers, Carl and Lenny, were found with their mom in a parking lot being abused by someone. So they were rescued, luckily, and they're brought in, luckily, no real harm. The woman who found them came back and adopted Carl and Lenny's mom, and we've had the two of them for the last couple of weeks in our clinic, and I've been looking for a forever home, ideally for the two of them to go together, because they're so well bonded and they get on so well, and you can see they're so socialized, and he's been purring the entire time he's been on.
I'm slightly terrified of cats, but they've been quite the dream.
Cats are great.
We had a whole conversation over there a few months ago whether I was going to jump on or not, but in fairness, they have. I really hope they find a forever home. I really do.
Thank you.
And they can get in touch with you guys and see if it suits.
Yeah, even through Rahini Vets as well. That's where they're located now.
And of course, you can follow Dr. Bobby on Instagram by searching @DrBob_Bob.
After the break, we're back on the catwalk. We'll see you soon. You're very welcome back. Stylist Emily O'Donnell has stayed with us.
And today we're looking at wedding guest styles for both the big day and the barbecue the next day as well, aren't we, Emily?
We certainly are. As we were saying earlier, ladies, wedding season is extended this year because of all the weddings that were cancelled and postponed due to the pandemic. So it's running later in the year. So we want to give people some options for weddings at home or abroad, and pieces that they're going to wear again, like this beautiful dress we're seeing here from learboutique.ie. As I mentioned before, Lear has become an R&M favourite because the dresses that they do, these are the Jolie Moi. They are the most friendly dresses for women's bodies. They go from a size 8 to a size 20. They come in every conceivable colour combination and pattern, and they are just so fashionable and functional and comfortable.
And you've the ruching at the waist, you've got the pockets, you have sleeves, you've the crossbody. I mean, it ticks all the boxes.
It does. It ticks every box. And the great thing about this, Elaine, is it's trans trans-seasonal, so it looks good now, but it'll take you right through winter. You can start it up with some boots, you can add a blazer, and it's just one of those dresses that you're going to have in the wardrobe that won't date as well, and that's what people want. If you're buying something for a wedding, either in Ireland or abroad, I think the days of a one-hit wonder are long gone.
Yeah.
People want good quality pieces from Irish retailers, and I have to say that Sonia, who owns this business, started the business from her attic during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Her mum packs the orders with her. It's gone from strength to strength, and I couldn't be any happier for her because she's one of life's gems, and she loves having the chats with the customers, and she's really good for styling advice as well, and always on the phone to help. And I just thought for shoes we would keep it quite simple. These are from Memories, who of course have an extensive range of shoes. There is a pair of shoes in that shop for every occasion. I'm wearing a pair myself today, and these come in other colours, and they're just very comfortable. They're not too high and they're not too low.
It's a lot of support as well around the straps
Yeah,
and the ankles, and of course across.
And what
the
I love
toes.
is that they look more expensive than the price point. I always try and pick things that look very designer inspired and high end. So Daniel is joining us next in another gorgeous outfit from Benetti.ie. As I mentioned earlier, Benetti are a great Irish-run menswear retailer. They stock formal and they stock casual, but they also do two fit styles. So they do the more tailored fit for somebody who wants a tailored suit, and then they do the more relaxed fit. So some men like things, I suppose, a little bit tighter, and other people prefer more traditional cut. And I just love this. I went for the blues, I suppose, today because we're kind of looking at trans-seasonal pieces. People don't want something, again, even men, that you just can wear once. Men particularly want to buy less, buy better, buy good quality pieces from Irish brands. I just love this jacket. I think a man in a white shirt going to any occasion always looks good. It's nice to have something that's cotton as well. You don't want to be in a church abroad or indeed in Ireland getting hot under the collar for the wrong reasons. It's very crisp, it's chic, and just styled with the jacket. They have really, really nice quality pieces. All the materials they use and all the tailoring, they're really well designed, really well made, and really good quality. And this is the type of jacket you can style up with jeans.
The blue is lovely.
And again, we just kept it simple because a lot of the time for day two of a wedding, men do actually just want to wear their jeans. They want to be comfortable. People have kind of more in the suit maybe for day one. You might be having a barbecue. The weather, of course, in Ireland isn't always guaranteed, and it's nice to buy pieces that you can mix up again.
They're a nice jean, Emily.
You need to wash them in a cold wash though, because that dye for the dark denim goes everywhere.
They are the perfect wash because I think they're just a really nice dark denim. They're not quite black, and also they're a really nice long leg. Daniel is a very tall model. He just actually got a message in telling him he looked like James Bond, which he was pretty chuffed with in part one. But it's just nice to have the different, I suppose, size options from Benetti.ie.
All the colours of the rainbow here now.
Yes, so this is a gorgeous look from memoriesboutique.ie to close us out. Of course, Memories based in Carlingford. They have the nicest, most designer-inspired pieces. I have to say, I love a good hat. I think it's a really cost-effective way to sort of elevate a look, maybe of something in the wardrobe and you just want to buy one thing to make it, I suppose, wedding-friendly. It comes in other colours and started with this gorgeous necklace. Memories have such a great selection of accessories, but this is actually reversible. So it's red on the front, and Natalia will just show you there, and it turns around and it's black. So you're getting two necklaces, and you can go summer to winter. But I think what I love most about this look is this dress. It's 100% cotton. It's a wrap style, which of course Diane von Furstenberg made famous, and it's just very, very chic. It's, I suppose, a little bit of a play on what a lot of the really high-end designers have been doing, which is the kind of clashing prints that we see on the likes of Olivia Palermo, and it looks much more than its price point. Styled again with an incredible bag. This one is Dolce & Gabbana inspired, and they're my favourite designers, so anytime I can channel a high-end look for less, I do. And I just think, again, even if you pop this on with a black dress,
and the
you're
cotton
good to
is
go.
so light as well, but that bag really brings it up,
isn't it?
Doesn't it? And Elaine, you made such a good point as well about the cotton being light, because if you are, I suppose, going to maybe a wedding abroad, you could be in the church for an hour or so before the proceedings.
You do not want to be in polyester in a wedding abroad.
That's what I keep saying to people. Buy really good quality fabrics. Look at the fabric. Buy from the Irish retailers. Don't buy something online that you're going to open up and it's a rag, and just start with some nice heels. Again, we've kept it quite simple. We haven't gone too high, and I just think it's the perfect look. And also everything that I've showcased can be ordered online, on the phone, and you can wear them again. That's what people want.
I like that you said
value for money.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that you said about the phone as well. There's always that thing about saying to somebody, I look like this and it's a bit like this.
That's
and
it.
You know, because it's almost like there's, you know,
You're getting your personal styling
Those
advice.
blue shoes, get them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and sometimes
I'm not getting any more
people
shoes.
want to have. Yeah, I've got my eye on those shoes too, Elaine. I'll race you.
Right, no, I'll leave them to you. I can't anymore. Anyway,
Blue shoes for the win.
after the break, especially for you, not those shoes. Thank you, Emily. We're talking neighbours.
A man, hopefully.
I want to show you. Let's just have a bit more of that. Yeah, it's bringing us all down memory lane. The Aussies, my friends, have been bawling since Kylie and Jason returned to Ramsey Street on Thursday. But grab a tissue. We're getting the Neighbours finale here in Ireland this week. And we're surprised he made it into us. He's so distraught by the news. But Killian O'Sullivan has put on a brave face, you flying Gala, and you joined us, mate.
This is
the big TV story of the week.
The end of an era, beyond an era. 37 years it's been running, over 9,000 episodes. That is almost as many episodes of Bachelor's Walk. I tell you what, it is. Look, whether you're into soaps or not, or whether you ever watched Neighbours or not, or whether it was on in the background as you were a kid coming home from school or not, this is still something to be talked about because it's kind of iconic that this is coming to an end. I don't know how they're really going to end it because we talked about this off air. Soap operas are designed by their very nature never to have a
There's no resolve. Yeah.
There's always stories peaking and troughing, peaking and troughing.
Well, people have been dead in soaps and come back.
Yeah, it's so like it was always going to be a challenge for the writers to wrap it all up, and that's what they did try to do. They tried to wrap it all up. Now, it's more of a spectacle. You've got Margot Robbie, who had over 300 episodes she did when she was in Neighbours. Yeah. She's back. Of course, you've got Jason and Kylie back.
Guy Pearce.
All of the names, Delta Goodrum, so people who got their careers off the back of it are... Natalie Imbruglia.
Natalie Imbruglia,
her big time when I was younger.
Yeah.
So it is.
She was very fond of you too. She spoke very highly of you. We interviewed her recently. She said, "How's Killian?" I said, "He's great." But it's coming to an end. That's it. I'm amazed that nobody, Killian, has picked it up. We've chatted about this. Even one of the streaming services.
It'd be relatively cheap for them to pick that up. When you think of how much they're spending, $8 and $10 million an episode on these series.
And this exists already. The word is there.
The sets are already there. The fan base is already there. This should have been a no-brainer for a Jeff Bezos or someone to come along and just go, how much?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I guess I won't buy another spaced rocket.
Yeah, I'll buy another 2 years of Neighbours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it comes to a close.
It does.
RTE won on Wednesday.
It does. So even if you haven't, I'm not even going to try. There's a synopsis of like where we are right now.
No, but there's so many people coming back in as well. It's going to be very interesting to see how they actually just finish it. I did watch a little clip online of Susan Kennedy walking through the street saying goodbye, and it was totes emotion. Speaking of totes emotion, another thing that's coming to an end tomorrow.
I know.
Love Island. Where did that go? Where did the summer go?
It just, look, blink and you miss it.
It's all over tomorrow.
I know.
So who's going to win? What's happening?
So, like, look, who's going to win? It's partially up to the public in that they, through the app, which we're not able to vote from.
Are they in a bed of roses?
They are. It's their big final date, you see.
Oh, sorry, right, yeah.
So you've 5 couples left. And it kind of could be anybody's. Love Island is one of these shows, it's divisive. There are people that watch it and enjoy it, and then there are people that hate it. And then there's people who hate it so much, I almost feel like they secretly love it. I read an article in the Irish Times, and the way your man wrote about it, I was like, you're more passionate about this than anyone I know who loves it. It's almost like that kind of, you know that expression, what Sally says about Susan says more about Sally than it does Susan.
Well, but he'll tell you it's his job to watch it. That's why because he has to review it. Well, he'll get into it a bit more than he thought he might. So there's 5 couples left. Who are the favourites to win?
Well, so Davide and Ekisu, again, these are all just words. They're going to mean nothing to you, Simon. But
no, listen, I know. Davide, he caused a lot of trouble, didn't he?
But he apparently, I saw an interview with an ex-Islander who was saying that, look, obviously it is a TV show, right? So there is downtime where they're sitting around with staff.
Yes.
And your man was saying, he was like, I've been watching it since coming out of the villa. He's like, and the worst part is that you don't get to see Davide be Davide because he's funniest when he's like with the staff and he's like having the crack and the stuff that you can't put on the air because it's meant to be just them in the villa.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to do really well coming off the back of it. We were talking about this last night. He's similar to Gino D'Acampo. That kind of, he's got that sort of bit of crack about him, although he's foreign, he's kind of got our sense of humour. So I think he'll do well.
And has been proved over the years with a lot of reality TV, not just Love Island. You don't need to win it.
Absolutely not.
To go on and look at Armora finish 4th.
This is it. Like, what do you win? €50,000? Quid? These people will make more than that in their first couple of Instagram posts when they come off the back of this show. So it's not about the money. It's not about who really wins. It's not
but it all comes will close tomorrow night.
Yeah, so tonight of the 5, we're going to be whittled down to 4.
Okay.
And then tomorrow night's the final episode where they'll watch their best bits and then we find out who the winner is.
Virgin Media 2, Monday night. Okay, let's move over to Netflix. The Sandman. Is this the creepy Sandman?
This is the creepy Sandman who is in control of everyone's dreams. And this is a world, I think Paul Ryder would love this series. It's a bit dark, bit scary, bit spooky. You can even see the aesthetic of it. It's all very darkly lit, shadows. It's this sort of nightmares exist in real world situation. Lovely. There's a Satan character, the devil is there. There's all of this kind of world. Again, to some people, they've already zoned out as I'm talking about it. Some people are zoned right in.
Oh, absolutely. This will be huge.
And this is a fan base. This is built off a series of books that have been knocking around since the 80s. So they've brought it up to spec in that there's been a couple of production companies that have tried to make this over the years, but Netflix are the ones who are stumping up to make a series.
It looks the business in fairness.
Yeah, they've brought it right up to modern day times, and look, it's got potential. As I said, it's got an existing fan base. It's going to do well, and I think bringing it to a streamer like Netflix is going to just open it up to more people.
Absolutely. You'd have to strap me down and put drops in my eyes after let me watch it, but because I'm the biggest wuss in the country, like I wouldn't be able to watch. I wouldn't be able to sleep, Killian, after it. Anyway, it drops on Friday.
Yeah,
on
you
Netflix.
got 10 episodes dropping on Friday.
If that's your thing, fair play to you. Right, Virgin Media more on Tuesday. Penance.
So this is new to Virgin Media more. It was made a couple of years ago, and it is a story, without getting too spoiler heavy, it's about a family who are coming off the back of a tragedy. Their son passes away tragically in a swimming accident. The mother never really feels comfortable with this because he was a strong swimmer. So she's already got these questions, and she's going through grief counselling, and then one day in counselling, there's this other young guy comes into counselling who is the spit of her son.
Oh, Lord.
But isn't her son. But then finds his way into the family, starts going out with the daughter. All of a sudden, the mother and himself start having this weird relationship, and it all unfolds over the course of just 3 episodes. Snappy. It's not a huge, big, long series. This is something that it's about the time it takes to watch a full movie nowadays. You'll be able to get these 3 episodes into you on Virgin Media more, and it's good one. It's worth the watch.
It sounds like one of those ones that. Is that Neil Morrissey?
Yeah, Neil Morrissey plays the dad in it. Yeah.
It sounds like one of those stories that you pull up the thread, more and more stuff just becomes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Unravels.
It's really good. Was it Channel 5 original a couple of years ago? But it's really nicely shot, nicely put together. It's got great ratings on Rotten
Decent
Tomatoes.
cast too.
70% great, yeah.
So that drops on Tuesday on Virgin Media more.
Yeah.
Okay, and then last but by no means least, it's something that I know Elaine's been waiting for years.
She's the biggest gooner I know.
She is, yeah. It's she's nodding over going, what is it? Something to do with Star Trek? It's a documentary about Arsenal.
Watch the tumbleweed just roll across.
So this is called All or Nothing. The biggest gooner I know is that I look at her face, the joy in her face, a documentary. Tell us about this, because Elaine is glued.
So All or Nothing is this documentary series that Amazon are footing the bill for, where they'll kind of basically move into a Premier League team, and then you get a glimpse into what it takes to actually put a team like this together. You get a look at what goes on in the dressing room and on and off the pitch what happens, because you only see these players for 90 minutes when they play, but actually there's a whole thing that happens in order for that.
So we get to see the manager shouting at them and kicking things.
You know, you also get to see the sort of stuff they do for the local community and the knock-on effects that it has to the community. There is a lot goes into it. They did a series about Spurs as well. So again, this is one that they'll dip from sports team to sports team, and Amazon Prime is where it's going to be at. And there's quite a lot of episodes. The first 3 episodes are going to be dropping on Thursday. Then the following Thursday, another 3.
And there's no coincidence in that, sure, isn't that the start of the Premier League season on Saturday?
Synergy. Look at that.
On Friday. Synergy. It's almost like they planned it, Killian.
I mean, it's...
Almost.
Who'd have thought it?
So that's for the Arsenal fan amongst... if you've got an interest in sport...
I know one Arsenal fan, Jonathan Dwan will love that. So they'll have one viewer in Ireland anyway, definitely.
Well done, Jonathan, well done.
Yeah.
Killian, thank you very much.
Pleasure as always.
And an education as always. Earlier we made a very tasty shakshuka for brunch. Here's how we did it. In a pan, fry the onions until soft, add the chopped pepper, chilli and garlic and the spices. Add the tomatoes, sugar, salt and pepper and top with water. Leave to simmer on a low heat for 15 to 20 minutes until the sauce has thickened. Crack the eggs into the tomato sauce, spacing them evenly in the pan. Cover the pan until the eggs are cooked to your liking. Garnish with chopped parsley and za'atar. Serve with fresh bread, hummus and salad. Now, before we go, we're going to give a massive shout out to one of our own, because we're losing our pal and our producer, Emily Phelan, today.
Oh, she's leaving us. Can you believe it? She's off to pastures new after 6 years working with us, and we just wanted to wish her well and thank her for everything she's done. She is an absolute diamond.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Emily. We wish you the best of luck for the future. You are one of the greats. Our loss is somebody else's gain.
Of these things we shall not speak. But we shall raise a glass to you later on, don't you worry. Now, there's no Ireland Day tomorrow.
Why not?
Because it's a bank holiday.
Oh, that's right.
But coming up on Tuesday, author Andrea Mara even chats about her latest crime novel, which brings to life every parent's worst nightmare.
We learn about the power of our nose and find out why smells can even evoke memories.
Oh, nice. Plus, we discuss the importance of teaching sex education and consent in school.
All that plus a new sport and whether you're waking up to Ireland AM is back on Tuesday from 7 bells.
Do you ever have that thing where you have a memory of something, say, from your childhood, and then all of a sudden you can smell it?
Mm-hmm. Wet duffel coats and bananas. School.
Wet duffel coats and bananas.
You know, we had a really old school. It was
great name for your biography.
Wet duffel coats and
My Life in Showbiz, the Lane County. Wet duffel coats and bananas. I'd buy it. Then you could do a live show.
From Arsenal.
From the Arsenal Stadium.
What is it called? Emirates?
The Emirates, yeah.
See, I knew that much.
Have a lovely bank holiday. Bye.